Hello everyone, as with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today wherever you are in this great world. We're going to talk about XRP, and I gotta start with this, 2 days till key event for XRP in Japan. This actually starts tomorrow, as Ripple leadership arrives in Japan. The XRP ledger community prepares for critical updates on real-world asset tokenization. Right now, it's all about tokenization. BlackRock talking about tokenization, JP Morgan tokenization, Goldman Sachs tokenization, because they're getting everything ready for all that value to start coming on chain. And it's not just going to be here in the United States, it's going to be happening globally. You know, everybody always talks like, well, this is huge. Look at what just happened with the US government. Or look, the US government just announced this. You realize you're holding a cryptocurrency that is global. In other words, even if we didn't get clarity in the United States, XRP would still succeed because everywhere else outside the United States, innovation is not slowing down. I think people forget how big the world is outside of the US. The death of Bitcoin. What have I been telling you for a while now? Once XRP flips Bitcoin's market cap, Bitcoin is finished. That's it. The belief system dies that very moment. Take a listen to Charles Hoskinson. Because the thing about Bitcoin is the only reason Bitcoin is valuable is it's big. Not because of what it does, and not because of what it is, but it's big. A lot of people use it. A lot of people hold it. So your perception of the other person's view of the value of Bitcoin is what keeps it going. But the minute that some other asset comes along that flips it on the coin market cap, Bitcoin dies. Because that other asset is more likely than not going to have similar properties to Bitcoin in terms of deflationary monetary policy and all these other things. But then it does all this other stuff in addition to it. And so then people say, well, why am I using this legacy thing? The other thing is more valuable and it does more, and it also has more sustainability built into it. So there's an arrogance there because of first mover advantage, and you see it in any monopoly. So Microsoft the 90s, when they had 94% of the market and they lost all their monopolies because they were too slow to change. They lost the Internet Explorer monopoly. They lost the Windows monopoly. Well, Bitcoin has all these built-in advantages. They have regulatory clarity. They have 550 million users. They have institutional adoption. They have governments that are okay with it. Central banks that are okay with it. The brand is great. But what they have to do is they have to get to an innovation culture. The problem is they don't have a founder to rally like Ethereum does with Vitalik, and they have a culture that is a religion, which means you can't change the Bible. You can't go in and say, well, actually, I don't like that story with Moses parting the Red Sea. Modern audiences, they're just not going to like that thing. Let's change it a little bit. Maybe he crossed the bridge. Nobody will believe the parting of the sea. You can't do that. It's doctrine. It's holy books. So anything Satoshi did was holy, so we can never change it. We can never talk about it. And so what that means is, eventually, you're going to lose your monopoly. Because eventually, somebody's going to figure out the silver bullet to compete around. And what they'll do is they'll extract your value systematically. Bitcoin DeFi is probably going to be the way. Why does the gold have to live at the gold mine to be valuable? Even with the whole digital gold narrative behind Bitcoin that's gone, because now you have tokenized gold coming on chain, and XRP was built to flip Bitcoin day one. It was built to fix all the problems with Bitcoin. That's why I always said they fear XRP the most. They know XRP has the capability of taking the #1 spot. Why do you think Bitcoin maxis talk about XRP so much? Because it's the thing that lives inside their head rent-free. They know it's coming for that #1 spot. Gemini's SEC filing confirms a $250 million credit line from Ripple, with RLUSD now contractually required to be held and actively used or face penalties. So Gemini took a credit line from Ripple in RLUSD, but they have to actually use it or they face penalties. This is game-changing. I want to see what happens with this going forward, because this shows you how Ripple, they're such a strong company. Ripple just keeps building not only their balance sheet, but they keep building out and becoming so well-rounded at the same time. When a global giant managing nearly $2 trillion in assets, like Franklin Templeton, begins talking about the importance of decentralized ownership, it signals that the industry is moving past speculation and into infrastructure. Take a listen to what she says here. I'm with Sandy Call, Executive Vice President, Head of Innovation for Franklin Templeton. Who owns, some of these blockchains, and would Franklin potentially or somebody else have their own blockchains sometime, in the future? Yeah, so the original blockchains, right? So Ethereum and Solana, all these blockchains that I had mentioned previously, Bitcoin as well, right? They were owned by foundations, right? They are not companies. They are set up by foundations. And basically everyone who owns those tokens is an owner of the blockchain. So if I buy Ethereum and I have Ethereum in my wallet, I am a partial owner of the Ethereum blockchain, right? So it's a different structure than a company, right? I can buy shares in a company, but the assets are still the company's assets. When I buy tokens of a blockchain, I actually own part of the network, right? So this is a way of owning a network, right? If you think of stocks as a way of owning a company, cryptocurrencies are a way of owning a network. And so everyone you know who owns cryptocurrencies owns part of the network of that cryptocurrency. So think about that as an XRP investor. You own part of the XRP ledger. You own a part of the blockchain. So now, as the new financial system rises and all this value is running across the network, as an XRP investor, you are going to get very rich because you own part of the network that everything is running on. All those tokenized assets, all those payments, transactions happening across the ledger, that all is partly owned by us as XRP investors. It's like owning a piece of the new financial system. That's why I always tell people, don't be in such a damn hurry to sell your XRP into US dollars. Is crypto overhyped, underhyped, or dead? Take a listen to this. Name one overhyped and underhyped crypto narrative. Overhyped crypto narrative. Crypto is dead. Oh, good answer. Every time there's a market pullback, crypto is dead. This is the end of it. Never happens. Crypto is going to be around long after any of us are. Underhyped. TradFi coming into crypto is going to make crypto better. Spicy. Very spicy. Yeah, overhyped. I struggle with that one because I think fundamentally crypto is still very much underhyped. Like it doesn't, the true innovation that it represents, people have not appreciated it all just yet. Crypto has a long way to go. It's going to be here long after we're gone. And you, by investing in it now, you could create generational wealth around XRP. You could borrow against your XRP without ever selling it. You could get passive income from it without ever selling it. You could pass it on to your children. Then it could get passed on to your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and so on. Crypto is not going anywhere. People that think crypto is dead, it's most likely because they're down on their investment right now, and they don't fully understand what they're holding. We don't need the Clarity Act to succeed. Price before law. How many times have you seen that recently? Price before law. That's what we're seeing right now when it comes to XRP. I would agree with that to some extent. I believe you are still early, as long as we beat the institutions. But that's about to end. And anybody not in here before it happens, they are going to fully regret never buying XRP. Because for the first time in history this happened, and a lot of people don't realize how big that is yet. But once that institutional wave of money hits this space, that's it for retail. They're going to be paying top dollar for XRP. There's going to be buyers buying XRP at $100 very soon, and they're going to think that they were early as the price continues to rise. You don't realize how cheap XRP is right now. People look at it and they're like, well, I'm down on my investment because I bought it at $3. Well, not really, because we're going way beyond $3. You just got to be able to hold it until we get there without selling it. That's the only time you ever lose in crypto is when you sell at a loss. The train has already left the station. Most people heard it but didn't understand it. The ship to a new financial system isn't coming someday. It's already happening behind the scenes. Quietly, systematically, faster rails, real-time settlement, tokenized value, and right in the middle of that evolution sits XRP. Not hype, not noise, infrastructure. By the time the world fully catches on, the early believers won't be chasing. They'll already be positioned. The question is, are you watching the train or are you on it? Everybody always laughed when Rosie Rios said, "The train has left the station." They thought she meant you were already too late to XRP. That's not what she meant at all. She meant everything is now put in motion. Everything is about to happen over the coming years. Position yourself now. Get your seat on the train now, before all of this comes together and the rise of a new system takes place. You could see it coming together now. It's not like it was even back in 2021 or 2022. You know, back then Ripple was still building the rail system. Now I believe that rail system is almost complete. Holding XRP requires a lot of patience. XRP would have been on the moon by now if this market was actually rational. You know, if you can hold XRP and get to life-changing money, that takes patience. You know, most XRP holders, they've been here 6, 7, 8, 9 years now. And most people made it through everything. The Ripple versus SEC case. I mean, crypto crackdown that was going on. Through the bear market, the worst years in crypto. 2022, I believe, was absolutely the worst year ever. A lot happened that year. The Luna crash and all the other crashes, plus FTX. You know, but if you can continue holding through the red days, you will get rewarded for your patience. That's what it really comes down to. The patient people in this space will make life-changing money. The people that don't have patience, they will sell the second that they get that XRP gets to $10 plus. That's why I said, they don't have to buy back your XRP. They don't have to take your XRP from you. A lot of people still believe the US government is just going to confiscate your XRP. They don't have to because most people that hold XRP, most are retail. I would say 90% of retail is going to be out by the time we hit $100. And if they're not out by $100, they're going to be out by 589. Most people are not only maybe 1% of XRP holders, they're still going to be holding at 4 digits. The institutions, they're still going to be buying at 4 digits. Think about it like that. Over 50% of XRP supply is in unrealized loss, reports Glassnode. So most people are down on their investment right now, but as long as you didn't sell, you didn't lose anything. And once the parabolic candle starts showing up, and all of a sudden XRP is surging in price, and everybody's excited again, and euphoria is setting in, you won't have any regrets unless you sold right now. All you got to do is be able to hold until it happens. I tell people that all the time. You know, they're always like, well, I'm down on my investment. Are you sure this is what I should be invested in? Am I too late to XRP? Is it over for XRP? It hasn't even started for XRP yet. We have such a long way to go. This initial run-up, that's going to be the shakeout. As we continue upward from there, anybody still in XRP, they will realize what XRP was built to do. They will start to realize how big this actually is. Arizona is creating a digital asset strategic reserve fund, and XRP is part of it. There's a lot of talk about this every single day. I think Arizona is only one state right now that's including XRP in its strategic reserve. I think there's a couple other states that are also pushing in this direction, but I believe every state will eventually hold XRP. Think about it. You could use it for moving money, moving value from point A to point B. This XRP is most likely going to be in every single state's strategic reserve fund. I believe we're going to see more of this in 2026 as well. Just wait until the prices start breaking out. Everything changes as the price of XRP rises. And until it happens, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.